If you enjoy what we do on these podcasts, please go to mwpnews.com. There you can see articles about some of the movies we've seen, some things that we don't talk about on podcasts, and links to ways you can support the show. Thank you. Good morning. Let's try this again, and welcome to Beware of Spoilers. Not Beware of Spoilers, the Backlog Files. How do I do that in consecutive days? I started recording this yesterday, and then I got a phone call, like halfway through. So I was like, let me just start over tomorrow on the way to work. Today, we are talking about Mario and Luigi Brothership. The new Mario and Luigi game coming out that came out last week, or 2 weeks ago at this point, for the Switch. And let me just say, I'm a big fan of this franchise. Even, like, the less good games, I still enjoy. Like, I like Paper Jam, and I know a lot of people don't like Partners in Time, but I really enjoy Partners in Time. Superstar Saga is, a great game all around. And I want to preface this by saying I don't think it's nostalgia that's putting me where I am on this game. Or me being like, well, what I liked when I was a kid is the best version of it, so obviously anything new is stupid. Like, it's not that. I think I could safely say it's not that. The way I can say it's not that is I played Superstar Saga, and I think that game ages astonishingly well, with the exception of that sequence where you have to get through the desert escorting Peach, which is annoying as fuck. But aside from that, I think that game ages astonishingly well, and it is still just as fun. And like, I played Paper Jam late. That one, was I found that enjoyable. Even playing it late. But the issue is, like, when we look at this, and we look at, kind of where this game is, and how all that, this feels like it should have been an early in the generation game. This feels like a game that should come out in, like, 2018, 2019, where it's designed to kind of show off what this franchise is going to look like on this console. Because, like, if this, like, I think I said the same thing about Princess Peach Showtime, to an extent, where it's like, okay, this idea has good bones. There's stuff here that works, and I think that if it is expanded upon in a full game that feels longer and has more difficulty options, it could be more fun. I think that this game, I have the inherent issue where it's like, the pacing is weird. Like, full disclosure, I'm about 6 hours into the game. I don't know if I'm super deep into it. It doesn't feel like I am, because I have just cleared the first island after the first Grand Lighthouse. So we're going to call this a review in progress. But I think a lot of my points are going to stand when I finish the game out. I just unlocked a new thing that's designed to alter your battling style, with the sockets and the plugs, and I haven't gotten a chance to really use it yet besides the tutorial. And it's like, okay, that's cool, but, like, are we getting this, like, a quarter of the way through the game, midway through the game? Like, that's my big issue. I'm not 100% certain how far into the game I am. I feel like I'm still in the reasonably early game, and I'm still kind of in the tutorial. Like, I wouldn't say the game is hand-holdy. Like, Pokemon is hand-holdy, where it's like, we're going to get you through everything you need to do to understand how to play this game, whether you've played this before or not, and you're going to have to sit here and sit through all these fucking tutorials until you get into the game proper, and then you're free to do whatever, you want to do. And maybe it is just a sign of my age, and maybe to that extent this is it, but like, just because the console can handle having a lot of cutscenes doesn't mean you have to have a lot of cutscenes. That's kind of one of my big problems with this game, is that it's like, it feels like they're like, look what we can do now, and it's like, okay, great, that's great. You can make these cool cutscenes, and you can have these things go on for a long time, but like, I don't think we need this much dialogue. I think there is way too much dialogue in this game, and way too often are we grinding things to a halt for dialogue. Like, it's too story heavy, which is weird for an RPG. But like, I don't think any of the previous ones, and I can speak to Superstar Saga because I played that one most recently. But like, I don't think any of these games necessarily had a particularly deep, it was a relatively simplistic story for what it was. I mean, and granted, it was a Game Boy Advance game, but still, I mean, you had a lot to do and all of that. At the same time, there is the whole issue of, like, what's what I'm looking for here? How do I put this? I don't know exactly if, like, again, the load screens are a big issue, and I don't know if this game will improve, because I think that's a big enough issue. And I think the other thing is, too, that makes this game longer than it needs to be, is it takes way too long to unlock the ability to speed the ship up. And the ship is a big part of going world to world as you're unlocking stuff. Because as the ship speeds up, like, you go on these currents. You can control what current you go on, but you can't control what direction, because it's a current. You just follow the current, and you go from current to current. And okay, that all tracks and makes sense. The problem is you have to wait for the ship to cycle around if you miss stuff. So you have to kind of just hang out and wait for the ship to go around. And it's not until you get to the first lighthouse, or you're about to get to the first lighthouse, that's like, oh, why don't we put these things on the back of the ship so we can alter the speed and make it go faster? And it's like, oh, well, that would have been helpful a while back. It does, like, I've reached the point where that's now faster, and I'm like, all right, cool. And I think fundamentally kind of my issue with this game is, like, I don't really, I'm enjoying it enough, and it's more of the Mario and Luigi, what's it called? It's more of the Mario and Luigi kind of, what's I'm looking for here? Like, that style. I don't particularly like the way they've characterized Luigi here. Like, the whole Luigi's logic thing doesn't exactly track with me. Like, that doesn't feel like something that's in his character to do. Like, that was the thing with all of this. It was always, Luigi's the crybaby who begrudgingly comes along. Like, that's always been the way the character is kind of portrayed, even like in Luigi's Mansion. Like, he's not doing this because he wants to. He's doing it because Mario's been kidnapped and he has to save him. It's like he's taking a much more active role, and it doesn't feel organically Luigi. Like, that said, his logic sometimes is kind of funny. Like, the way it manifests itself is kind of funny. But I don't think there's enough in the game to be like, oh, well, that's something that is, more difficult to, like, like, him being as gung-ho as he is the entire way through this kind of feels out of character. And maybe it's just there's a big reveal or something. I'm not holding my breath for that, but maybe that is the case. And down the line, there is a big reveal that, oh, this isn't really Luigi. This is something else that's, pretending to be Luigi. What else have we got? I like the designs. And again, it's like I said, if this came out 5 years ago, 6 years ago, toward the beginning of the Switch's life cycle, I'd be like, all right, this is good. This feels like a good example of what we're going to be, like, this is a good baseline. Let's work off of this as we, as this, as we expand this into whatever the new form this is going to be on this console, because this is a big transition. Like, it started on the Game Boy, then it was mostly on the DS and the 3DS. like it's a big transition to move back to the single screen, and then it's the first time it's on a home console. So let's see how this kind of plays out. And that's kind of an interesting place to put the franchise, but not in what is definitely the final full year of the Nintendo Switch. This doesn't feel like something that you would do if, like right now. Like, this feels like something you would put out, and then it's like, okay, this is where we're starting from. We're going to improve from here. Like, this is not going to be the end of what we look like. We're going to be ending, like, this is going to be a better, like, there's a better thing coming down the line, is what I'm hoping for. And unfortunately, that's not really, the case. Maybe on Switch 2, there'll be a new Mario and Luigi game. Maybe that is coming down the line. I don't know, but maybe there is another one coming on out there. But for what this is here, it doesn't really feel like a complete experience, and it feels very much like they're still trying to get their minds around what this hardware can do. Because it's not doing anything particularly, groundbreaking with the Switch hardware. It's not trying anything new or different. It's just, it just kind of exists in this weird space where it's like, again, like Princess Peach Showtime, we've seen this, like, this is a cool idea. Don't get me wrong. I think there's a lot of cool stuff here. But, like, even things that, like, we expect from previous games. And again, coming off of Mario and Luigi, Superstar Saga, like, there's so much by this many hours in that first game that you're able to do that it's a little strange, to be honest, that I can't do that here. Like, it feels like, I don't want to say it feels lazy, but it feels incomplete in a way, where it's like they didn't get the pacing quite right. And I think, too, it's like, okay, the other feeling I get is that, but when all is said and done, this will be a relatively short game if you were to Golden Path it. If you're Golden Pathing this game, then I feel like it's going to be a lot shorter than doing what I'm doing, which is fucking around and doing the side missions, too. Like, I wouldn't say I'm overpowered, because I think that, like, I don't think the game is terribly balanced in terms of, like, how powerful you can get while you are leveling up. And the thing is, too, it's like the amount that you gain from stat boosting items that you get very early in the game puts it in a place where it's like, oh, okay. And the thing is, too, it's like, there's one of the in-game achievements that gives you stuff is to score 1 million damage with one hit, which kind of sets a ceiling where it's like, okay, so that will be possible. It'll probably be a little bit difficult to get to, but hitting 1 million with one hit is definitely a doable thing. And the other thing is, too, it's like, at what point do we look at this and we're like, oh, well, the battle difficulty isn't really changing, because all that's happening is just the enemy is scaling up to the same level you are to an extent. So at maybe you're 1 or 2 levels above, but if you're level, like, it tells you what level the enemies are. If you're level 4, like, I'm level 14, if the enemies are level, 13, 12, like, yeah, you're doing damage, and you're doing a lot of damage. It takes, 2 hits on Luigi, with Mario or Luigi to knock out one of these guys. But at the end of the day, it's like, it was the same when I was level 1. Like, and they're not doing a ton more damage, they're doing a proportionate amount of damage to my health. Like, you get what I'm saying, where it's like, it doesn't quite feel like it's, it's a very simplistic RPG mechanic. And because you can see the level, you're like, oh, okay, well, that makes sense. Like, they're just doing the same amount of damage that they would have done earlier, the same percentage is being done. And, like, the fact of the matter is, it's like, one of the achievements, it seems a lot harder than it's going to be. Like, that, like, let's talk about the achievements real quick, because there are a few achievements I want to address. Number 1, there's the achievement where you heal 20 times in battle. Now, I think that the enemy attack patterns are so easy to figure out that it is very easy to get through battles perfect, which is another achievement, get through battles without taking damage. And, like, I haven't hit that one yet. Get through 100 battles without taking damage. I'm like, almost 2/3 of the way through that now. Like, I haven't quite hit 2/3, like, I haven't quite hit that, but I'm on the way. And you take, so, like, if you miss, it's not a huge deal. Like, if you go to dodge an attack and you mistime the thing, it's not the biggest deal on the planet. Oh, hey, whatever. I'll just retain I'll just take the hit and move on. On the other hand, then you have the issue of, Then you have the issue of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Like, clear 100 battles in a row without dying. And it's like, I'm playing this and I'm like, you have to try to lose in these battles. Like, these battles are not difficult. They never presume to be difficult. They never, like, masquerade as difficult. They're all relatively easy. There are a few battles that, like, I could see if you get into, like, the Cascade series of failures. Like, if you get into that mode, I could see that becoming something where it's like, oh, that I could see how you could lose one of the two, but not both. Like, it's just one of those things where it's like, why is this designed this way? Like, you have this achievement that's there, and it's like, it basically is as long as you don't colossally fuck up in the first 6 hours of the game, you will unlock this achievement. It's not a difficult achievement to unlock, and it's just it sounds a lot more prestigious than it is. It's, oh, you cleared 100 battles in a row without dying. Like, it's not that hard to do, though. And that's kind of the thing where it's like, it's like, I could see this as a good child's first RPG. Like, if you have a kid, I could see this being a good RPG for them to get them into, like, the gameplay mechanics of how RPGs work and level up systems and that kind of thing. Especially in a more traditional setting where Pokemon is a monster collecting RPG. This is a good way to get them in with, like, the more traditional, like, fight shit in turn-based combat, level up, and then, and then fight more shit, like, and progress through the story with some light puzzle solving. But yeah, I think the game's enjoyable enough. I'm going to call this still a review in progress, because as I complete the game, we may revisit it. I don't think this is going to be considered one of my favorites. I don't think this is a game I'm like what I said yesterday when I did this the first time and then ended up losing it was when I was, when I unlocked the socket and the plug. My first thought was, oh, am I still in the tutorial? Have I not gotten out of the tutorial yet? Because this feels like a very rudimentary early in the game development. Like, am I still at this point? And then my second thought was, oh God, I hope not. Which is not a good thought to have. Let's be honest, it's not a good thought to have when you're playing a game. Like, oh God, I hope I'm not still in the tutorial, because I hope I'm not still in the early part of this game. It's not a good thought to have. It tells me that the gameplay loop is not that fun. I just want to move on to something else. Like, I want to go back to playing a different game. But we'll wrap up there for today. Our next episode, we'll be back next week with our Pokemon ranking and all of that. And what's after that? I feel like there's something else that we have. There's another new game coming out. Maybe I'm forgetting it. And I think we might do Indiana Jones. I don't know if my computer will be able to handle it, because I have a gaming PC, but it's not exactly the beefiest. Over on Beware of Spoilers tonight, we will be talking about Anora, the new movie from Sean Baker, starring Maggie Madison, that is getting a ton of positive praise. I heard a lot about it at the Hamptons Film Festival. I heard a lot of people talking about it that I spoke to there, and we'll be talking about that later today. But until our next episode, have a great rest of your week.